to Keka HR Katalyst, the Delhi chapter. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Dr. Nishad, and I will be your host for the evening. I head the corporate communications here at Keka. That being said, Keka started as a very small company way back in 2017, 2016. And our sole purpose was to empower HR professionals across the globe. We started as a company that probably had a lot of priorities on their list, a lot of ambitions, because we realized very early on that there is a gap in the market, right? HRs deserve much more than what they were being offered back then, and hence Keka. We started this series of conclaves to help organizations understand and leverage the power that human resources holds. We strongly believe that customer experience plus employee experience gives rise to 10 times the growth in any organization. Our founder vouches for this equation, that is CX plus EX gives rise to 10 times the growth in any organization, right? And we realize that HRs are the backbone for scaling any business, whatsoever it be across the world. And we do understand that HR is one of the only entities that is prevalent and uniform in every organization, right? Be it a small-sized organization or a big MNC, they all need an HR professional. That is how important you guys are. It's a huge round of applause to your personal profession and for bringing the HR community to what it is today. Moving on, let's start our event for tonight, right? So the topic is revolving around the theme, which is 100 to 10,000. What do I mean by 100 to 10,000? 100, of course, the employee count, right? So that is a small company to an enterprise. How do you take that? How do you ensure that what you are doing is considering or contributing to that number? So for here, we have a few CEOs that will be talking about what they expect from you as an HR and what lessons they have learned while scaling their organizations, right? For that, our moderator for the session will be Kshitij Sachan, the leadership and performance coach of Keka HR. As and when I take the names of the speakers, please, I request you all to come on the stage. Till that time, can we please have the chairs and the tables assigned? So as and when I take the names of the speakers, I request you all to please come on stage. Right. So our moderator for today is Kshitij Sachan, as I said, the leadership and performance coach of Keka HR. If you can please come on stage, Kshitij. A huge round of applause for Kshitij, ladies and gentlemen. He just completed a masterclass. Right, the next up, we have Rakesh Dubey, the managing partner of Sagacia. Thank you. Next up, we have Kanika Agarwal, the co-founder and CEO of MindPeers. And our next speaker is Smiti Bhatt Diora, the co-founder and CEO of Advantage Club Technologies. Right, over to you, Kshitij.
Hello, everybody. Having a good time here? Am I, just a quick check, is the mic working well? Okay. Am I audible to the last corner of the room? Super, all right. Okay, so, well, the segment that we're going to do here, it's a CEO talk session where we call leaders to talk about their experience, right? The journey that they made in their lives. How do they look at business as an ecosystem? What do they want out of HR? Where do they see the HR ecosystem is heading also? So we'll be majorly discussing 4 major segments, which is the history of the organizations. Along with that, how do you build culture and strategy inside the organization? So Rakesh sir, we'll start with you as a question. So I'll set a strong context first. So first thing is, like every business, whenever it starts with a very clear sense of purpose. The founder knows, what do they really want, from that business, what value do they want to drive. But eventually, like if you look at it, like as it evolves, the purpose also evolves over a period of time. So you have been in forefront of the entire BFSI segment that has worked out in India and non-banking finance segment also. So how did this journey pan out for you? And if you can give us a brief journey about that.
Thank you, Kshitij, and thank you, Keka team, for inviting me. Can I ask a question from that lady to whom her husband forced to become entrepreneur? You, please. So husband is a now shareholder or what? Is a board member. So he holds every 100% share. And still he's forcing you to work. Okay. So he's not paying you any salary then. Okay. Oh, so he's playing with your mind. Okay, thank you. Please sit down. So, generally, if you see, you don't need people. You don't need money, which has been my experience. You don't need kind of ecosystem to evolve around you, and then you'll become entrepreneur. To become entrepreneur, what all thing you need an idea. So once idea is there, then people would be there to support you. Money will follow you. And then with the money and people, the ecosystem would get developed. So nobody can make you entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is a self-conscious thing. Otherwise, 1%, 1.5% लोग entrepreneur नहीं होते, बाकी 99% लोग केका के payroll system पे नहीं होते. Payroll का मतलब है जो आप लोगों को software देते हैं उस पे देते. My journey started in 1997 as a employee or founder employee of a company, which was one of the first microfinance institution in India. So I passed out, then I joined that company. 4 or 5 years I worked over there, and then one day I decided, one day not, people say that's a one day. But you keep on thinking that's how to start the thing. So we took around 6, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months. And then we decided to establish a company. So idea came up that we want to replicate that where I'm working. Because there was no company over there. So we thought there is opportunity. And microfinance, if people are not understanding or they understand, microfinance is a business where NBFCs goes to villages and they provide a small loan to women for their entrepreneurial work. So that's a kind of job which you started doing in Uttar Pradesh. And one of the poorest districts of Uttar Pradesh, it was Mirzapur. आप लोगों ने serial देखा होगा मिर्ज़ापुर. And Phulan Devi भी मिर्ज़ापुर से आती हैं. That time she was a member of parliament. So from there, and then in 2004, we started. With one of my colleagues, I shared the idea. He said, okay, let's start. And what we had Provident Fund money. It was 2.5 lakh rupees, 2.5 lakh rupees. So we both started that company. We got the funding from one of the venture. They came up, they said, okay, we'll give you, and we'll acquire 90% share. So that's a painful journey for entrepreneur in the starting. You lose your all the stake in the beginning. But anyway, that's fine. But you test your idea. So they said, we'll take 10%, 90%, 10% you have to put the money. We had only 2.5%, 7.5% we got the loan from one of the economists, Swami Ankleshwar Iyer. So he gave a personal loan to us, 7.5 lakh. So that's how the company got started. In 2009, 2010, I left that company. I sold off my stake. I came down to Gurgaon, then started another company. So that company which I started has been recently acquired by Kotak Mahindra Bank in 530 crores. So from 2004, that company was a value which, of course, there was an investor and all, but everybody had made money. That company is serving more than 2 million customers in UP or around, I think, 15 states. My co-promoter was there. He left that thing. So recently then I started another journey. So being an entrepreneur, it's a kind of, that's a nasha kehte hain. Once you are entrepreneur, you are always entrepreneur. You keep on thinking. तो जो मैस्लो की थ्योरी आप बता रहे थे ना, we are always on the lower side of the Maslow theory. वो हमेशा need based ही रहते आते हैं, ऊपर वाले में self actualization कभी नहीं पहुंच पाते हैं. So that's how we have started that journey. People met us, people came they joined, and interesting part of that journey was that with us, at least 7 or 8 people, they have started their own journey. And they are running very big company. The guys whom I identified as a branch head, they are running a 7,000 crore company right now in Delhi. And that's it. That's how you take a, it's not that you are a branch manager. It's not that you are a VP or you are a second to CEO and then you can start a company. It all takes idea. One day you can have idea, you work on that idea. Probably you'll have challenges, but you'll get success.
Super. Thank you, sir. That was a great.
Kshitij, sorry for interrupting you over there. All the people who are a part of the CHRO roundtable can please move to the boardroom, Mars and Mercury. Varun, Reddy, Seva, and the rest of the CHRO panel members can please move to the boardroom, Mars and Mercury. Thank you so much. Kshitij, over to you. Sorry.
Thank you. So, thank you, sir. That was one great answer. So, Smriti, I'll come to you next. The amount of awards that you have received in previous couple of years is, it's great to look at. I do follow, all the different videos that you come on from TEDx to, different platforms that you have been speaking on. And like I closely also follow technologies also, right? So Advantage Club, the kind of work that you guys have been doing is phenomenal. I believe that. Because, it's sort of, the way I look at it, it actually helps building a psychological strength inside the organization in terms of engaging people. So how did this happen to you, this entire organization, this idea happen to you? And eventually, I understand that it would be evolving as of now also. So where is it heading, and how do you really make sure that all your people are connected with the purpose that you have started this business for?
Sure. So, like you rightly said, it's always a constant evolving journey with Advantage Club, and it's still evolving. It will continue evolving. I don't know till what date or what extent, but I think that's always been our thought process when we started the venture. So me and Saurabh, we were working corporate jobs. We were working at Microsoft in the US, and before Microsoft, my co-founder Saurabh was working with Amazon. So there was always this thing that we wanted to start something of our own, and that was always there in the back of our mind. Ever since we met, I think that's one of the core things we connected on. And we used to maintain this book or Google sheet of ideas which we thought weren't existent in the world, or there was a gap in the market and we'd want to implement it. There were hundreds of ideas on that sheet. I think Advantage Club was the 109th idea or something. I don't even remember, it was that long ago. But when we wanted to start the venture eventually, when we decided to take a plunge, we actually wanted to start a travel company. That idea, ironically, still doesn't exist in the world, so I'm not going to tell that idea right now. But I am so glad we did not start the travel company, because I don't know what would have happened to us during COVID. So at that time, when the reason we kind of settled on Advantage Club as an idea is because when Saurabh moved from Amazon to Microsoft, we saw a huge difference in the cultures of both the companies. And the cultures, while of course work-wise, honestly, in the US, Amazon was the dream company for any developer. Microsoft did not have such cool projects or such amazing new devices or any sort of new initiatives they'd be launching for somebody to feel that this is like a cooler structure for me. But still, attrition in Microsoft was very low, like non-existent. And attrition in Amazon was very high. So that was very interesting to us, that there's cooler work here, but more people are leaving. And when we used to have farewells in Microsoft, people used to be shocked that, why are you leaving? I mean, the average tenure was like 10 years, 15 years for people. And in Amazon, during farewell parties, it was a common joke. They used to have a bet, who's going to leave next? And that's so weird, right, as cultures. So we realized that it was because of the culture which was created by Microsoft for us as employees, that they had this concept of Microsoft Cares, and they had this extensive set of benefit structures which were very well communicated, very well articulated, and kind of marketed upon for people, that this company really, really cares about you. We realized that this was actually non-existent in markets like Southeast Asia, markets like Middle East. There were a few players doing rewards and recognition, large ones in the US, so we thought not to touch that market. When you want to start something, start with a bear market where you have a first mover advantage. And that's why we moved back to India and we started Advantage Club. Over time, like initially we started this program as what we had experienced as employees. We had amazing perks, benefits, which we used to get from Microsoft as employees. So we started that ecosystem in India, where we started doing partnerships with these brands and started bringing all these offers which were unique. And it was not that hard, because 2014 is when we came back, 2015 is when we started building, 2016 is when we launched. And 2014 was also the boom of the startup industry in India. You had Flipkarts and Grofers and Zomatos of the world starting up.
Keka as well.
Yeah, Keka as well, starting up. And people were giving insane offers for customer acquisition, retention. So it was easy for us to get that baseline of marketplace. The market was very raw, and everybody wanted to get to corporate employees because it was the cream of the country. Like every brand wanted to acquire and retain these customers. So we started a journey with that, and we became a perks platform. And what has been interesting about Advantage Club's journey is whatever we've built because our customers have wanted it. So this was the only thing probably we started where we as customers felt it's a good thing to have. And everything else, when we started rewards and recognition, it was because our largest customer, it was a BPO company. At that time, they were having 60,000 employees, and it was our largest customer. Today, we serve more than 250,000 employees in that same company, and still they're not my largest customer. But still, that day, it was the largest company for us. And they came to us and said, we're running rewards and recognition with another global vendor. We're not happy with them. Utilization is 40%. Redemption is 60%. Can you maybe use your wallet and build this for us? So there was a large opportunity of crores of budgets coming in. So we said, OK, it's worth building it for them. So we built it for them. It took us 3-4 months to add rewards and recognition as a layer on top of the perks marketplace. And when we launched, within a quarter, the same Janta who was using 60% on their existing platform started using 90% on our platform. And that was a big, kind of validation for us that we were on the right path. And we're actually building something which is not just a Me Too product. It's something which is actually solving the pain points of the customers with the existing platforms. And that's how we've evolved over time. Like, eventually, we started building more programs on top of it. We built our wellness suite, things like step challenges, stepathons, walkathons. We built our flexi benefit budget, that there are other things beyond rewards which companies want to do for people. So all of those pieces eventually evolved into a suite of products for employee experience. And it's a constantly evolving journey. Like I said, I don't know what else we'll be adding onto the tool over time, but it's one of our core cultural values that we don't build something if it's not relevant to the end user. So as and when the world evolves, we'll keep evolving ourselves.
And actually, if we look at it, the entire world and the business ecosystems or whatever it may be exist just because of human needs itself, right?
Exactly.
So, all of you would know Maslow already, right? Yeah? Anybody wants to share anything interesting about that thought? Maybe it's not true or something. Okay, fair. So, Kanika, I'll come to you next. Your link, the LinkedIn itself is great to visit. So I landed on, and I did take a note. So what Kanika's, what should I call it? The statement out there in the front of the LinkedIn says is, on a mission to make people mentally stronger, where taking care of our mind becomes a lifestyle. And honestly, like this is what should I call it? It's a greater than humanity kind of a purpose altogether. So how did you arrive to such a mission or such a vision in your life, and where do you think it's heading?
Yeah, so I'll keep it very real, and I want to tell you I'm a millennial. So it's good to give that heads up, because then it becomes relatable. 2 things that brought me to that purpose. First thing is my career started in Singapore. I worked there for 15 years. It started with Google, went on to Microsoft, and then in 2015, I started my first company, which was the digital agency. 3 years, we became a multi-million company. I was the solo founder. Everything was great. Everything was glamorous, except the fact that I had to, and trigger warning if someone has gone through anxiety, so I'm going to mention about it. I went through a lot of panic attacks. And I had to be hospitalized to the extent that I Sunday ko hospitalized hoti thi. Monday ko I had to attend my leadership meetings because we had, clients like ZTV, Unilever, all of those things, right? And as an entrepreneur, your work goes on. And 2016 or 2017, even in a country like Singapore where you have so much diversity, the hospitals there would do all my checkup. And they would say, we also don't know why are you breathing like that, or is it hypertension, why is it happening, and things like that. I discovered mental health at that time, okay? And people called it a first world problem because I have ambitions and I don't know how to slow down. So if you're going to tell me that you have anxiety, you're a high-performing individual, but hey, please slow down, not going to happen. And that's why I mentioned I'm a millennial, because this is becoming a thing in millennials and Gen Zs. If I talk to my mom, she has been working in the same company for 32 years. She says, go take a walk, what is it? Right? So, and the real truth is that 70% of your workforce is going to be millennials and Gen Z. And a lot of you must be seeing that intergenerational problems already, where the leader is probably from another generation and the expectations of a millennial is very different. So my own experience was the first thing which said, look, something has to be done about it. The second thing was 2 years ago, we were on Shark Tank, okay? And because of, and I didn't expect, because it was the first time a mental health company went on national TV. 15 minutes in, we had some 2.5 crore visits, and I had some 1 lakh plus messages by the next day. And you know what people said? The messages were, oh, we relate to this. Because what I had spoken in my pitch was, you don't need to take care of your mental health only when something bad happens, right? Our ambitions, our career growth, our overthinking, it's all connected here. And you talked about Maslow's hierarchy. When we talk about millennials and Gen Z, the hard truth is that they Maslow's hierarchy mein upar pahunch chuke hain. They already have the physiological needs. Roti, kapda, makan has already been met for them. And now they are thinking about what? They're thinking about the psychological needs. So the second purpose came from there, that you don't need anything to go wrong here. You have to proactively help out high-performing individuals. And that's why MindPeers happened, because that's how we work with HRs, B2B, and all of those things. And that's where the larger purpose of doing this came from.
Superb, Kanika. And I think, come on, guys, this deserves a clap. So if you look at it, most of the businesses, the founders and owners, they always, the inspiration to do the business comes from an area of pain itself, the personal pain that they have experienced in their lives, and which kind of builds the intensity that they have in solving the problem. So, very much agreed that the fundamental layer that is already met, right? But if you look at it, people still chase appraisals, right? Still the lowest bracket, but they still chase it. So eventually, Maslow framework, although it explains things up, but still very complicated. You climb up and then you come back also. You might be self-actualizing in your life. The next moment, you might be again staggering for the basic needs. So it's there. So I think great answer. Thank you very much. So we'll move to the next segment. And the next segment is more focused on the scaling problems that businesses see. You all have scaled your businesses. So I would generally want you to go about answering this question. So the one way to explain what is the scaling issue is that, guys, if you look at it, right, any business, whenever it starts, as I said, right, it has a clear purpose. It could be a very simple purpose of delivering a pizza to a pizza lover, to a greater than humanity purpose like, colonizing the Mars or sending a rocket to the moon. So while business has a purpose, the people who join the business also, they also come with a very specific purpose of doing it, right? It could be learning, growth, money, right? All the different things. So if you see there is a misalignment, what an individual wants and the business wants in the ecosystem. So essentially, and this is where I think, the silos start becoming also, because individual come from their place of doing it. So how do you guys instill this, sense of purpose? How do you motivate people to connect with the purpose that you have brought onto the table? And, how do we do that? And how can HRs actually execute that? Because I see HR as a department is extremely important to achieving, more psychological safe environments within the workplace. So Smriti, we can start with you.
Sure. So you're absolutely right when you say that, an organization always starts with a purpose, right? And then as and when you grow, you add more people in the company. People also join with their own purpose, right? So I think the first important thing is to align people's goals with the company goals. And that's why when we say that you launch any HR initiative, the most important thing is why you are doing that initiative. What is the objective of doing it? Is it actually aligning with your company's core values, core behaviors? Is it aligning your employees in the right manner to them. If you're running a recognition program, are they getting recognized for the right behaviors? So it is important to, first and foremost, align people's goals with the organization goals, and therefore link people's growth with the company growth. And it's easier said than done, obviously, but at the end of the day, if every growth metric or every KRA or every KPI which has been given to your employees is linked directly or indirectly with that eventual goal of the company, in a cumulative manner, slowly and consecutively, you achieve a state in which everyone starts moving towards the common goal of the organization. So aligning the growth with the company growth, aligning the purpose with the company purpose is important. Second is, if you look at an employee's expectations, you also have to somewhere align your culture with their expectations. And that's the reason why HR communities, they run these surveys, these NPS scores, these ESAT scores. Why do they do that? Because they want to understand why things are not working, or why things are working for that matter, and how you can enable employees to be more happier, more satisfied, and feel more belonged in the workplace itself. So it's not like a one solution for the entire problem. There has to be like 20 things which you do in parallel, which align goals, which creates belongingness, which eventually creates a structure in which people are being rewarded for what they're actually achieving. And they start feeling that if I leave this organization tomorrow, I might not get this growth, or I might not get this respect, or I might not get this sense of security which I have today, which maybe the other company might not be able to give me. So it has to be like a combination of everything.
Great. Right. So, Kanika, I have a very different questions with reference to that. So, which is, your requirement in terms of human resource as a business is very different, right? You look for therapists and professional who actually want to do that. So, does that, requiring the professional from this vertical, does that change anything in your hiring process? Because that's something which can, what tweaks, what do you look for when you hire people? If you can actually tell us.
Yeah, so see, no, it's not different for us as compared to any other growing startup. So maybe let me just answer it in two buckets. I'll be very quick. Firstly, if any one of you here are from companies which are in growth stage, or you are a startup, or let's say even if you're an SME, all right, you will always be facing attrition, or you would be doing hiring on the basis of salary ranges. Let's be honest, okay? And there, this is a policy that I follow because I feel all entrepreneurs are HRs by default, okay? Every day we are firefighting in that role. What has worked for me and a lot of companies that we consult, okay, on the same is transparency and vulnerability. You mentioned about personal goals. So when we are talking or when we are hiring people, we're very upfront to tell them that, look, I'm going to probably match the market benchmark, okay? But I might not be able to give you a very fancy salary because I'm a growing startup, okay? So it's a chicken and an egg problem. But what I can promise you is a culture of empathy. I'm going to promise you that your growth happens. I'm going to promise you that the leaders are going to understand you. And that's the kind of thing that we look for even when we're hiring. That, if the person is making a sacrifice to join a growing startup, what is that motivation? And if it's a learning motivation, then you need to make sure that they're learning. The second bucket is that if you belong to an MNC or a company where matching or even going beyond the salary benchmarks is not a problem, I'm going to give you a very nice example quickly of a company called HubSpot. I don't know if you guys have heard of HubSpot or not. I learned it from them when we were talking to them for Mind Peers, etc. And they told me a very nice practice that they follow in the US and in Southeast Asia. Okay, they told me we have a culture on every Friday. Team leaders run a thing called reflective sessions, okay, where the leader, by default, has to be vulnerable about the struggles that they went through, personally or professionally. I don't know in how many of your organizations leaders are doing that. But you know what happens when leaders do that? employees automatically start to feel a sense of psychological safety. They start to feel that, oh, my leader is going through, now I can also open about, what I'm going through. And to me, that can be a game changer in giving that culture, which is, which really helps in building that safety and retaining the best talent that you have.
Super. Rakesh sir, all right, so Rakesh sir, your experience is way more much than any of us here. So I would like to understand a very different problem statement from you, which is, if you look at today's era, AI is happening, right? In the morning itself, I took a 3 hours ChatGPT workshop on how to manage performance. So in this era, the psychological safety of employees, when they join the business, it's pretty low. And I myself at times feel that the things that I do, it's easy to replace through AI, and I can build a bot which can actually do that, being a technologist. So essentially, in an era like this, how do we bring this up? You have seen business ecosystems evolve, these risks and all a lot. So how do you see this AI revolution, and what impact do you think it's going to bring to the ecosystems?
See, time will tell. That's one thing, AI thing. I don't think that the jobs are going to go out. New jobs will come, because what I have seen in last 27 years. When I passed my intermediate, only 5 engineering colleges were there in 88. So how many engineers we were producing? Probably that's medical colleges, 10, 20. Nowadays, we are producing more than 150,000 doctors. Engineers, we don't count. So AI can reduce some jobs, but more jobs will come in different specialized sectors, which would be helped by only AI, because new doors will come. Coming back to this HR problem, whatever that's a big organization, a small organization, a startup, attrition rates are more or less in the same bracket. If it is Infosys, probably that's 30%, 40%. It depends upon which age your employee is. That's a basic thing. If he's young, his need goes with the Maslow theory that he can earn more, he can enjoy the life, he does not have, or she does not have any liability. When she becomes 28 or get married, then that goes to the second level. Then house needs. So best part is that if you want to retain your employee, ask her or him to buy a house. So then they'll start paying the EMIs of the house, and they'll think of that 50,000 rupees, 60,000 rupees kahan se dene hai, they'll stay back. So you, as an entrepreneur, you should encourage your employee to buy a house or buy a car. And that has been, I'm not joking, that has been a Western culture. The whole Western culture is that goes on the loan. Indian culture, which does not. My parents did not buy any car or any house on loan. So that's a change in the culture will happen with the time. The second thing. Third thing is that the employee is floating voter kind of thing. He's working with Keka, second day he would be working with a different organization. And we should not stop that. What we should start doing that, we should, as both have said, that we should start encouraging people to learn, to scale up their skill. Eventually, ecosystem will get the benefit. If we are thinking in short term कि नहीं ये employee को 2000 दे के ज़्यादा हम रोके रखते हैं, it's better to let the employee go. You hire the another employee, because it depends upon that, as you said, that's on how much money you are having. You can't hire IIM graduates. You can hire only tier 2. So everything is dependent upon that in which ecosystem you are working, and which kind of industry you are working. अगर हम अपनी बात करें, we are into microfinance. My 80% workforce lives in rural area. 12th pass. But still they live there. 12th pass वालों को नौकरी नहीं मिलती है, 20,000 25,000 हमारे यहाँ से तनख्वाह मिलती है, बट फिर भी वो छोड़ते हैं क्योंकि अगला 22,000 देता है, तो 2,000 रुपए के लिए वो छोड़ देंगे. Because 2,000 rupees makes a difference in their life. So that all depends. So we cannot blame the employee only, that employee is so क्या कहेंगे, selfish. They are leaving the organization after getting. So as a HR person, as you said, that's a entrepreneur or the founder, they are the HR person. You should encourage people if they want to take another job. I think that brings more trust. अगर आप रोकना शुरू करेंगे कि नहीं नहीं आपको नौकरी नहीं छोड़ के जाना है, you start vouching their LinkedIn profile, open to work लिखा है कि नहीं लिखा हुआ है, अगर open to work लिखा हुआ है, और then you start listening the phone calls कि 11 बजे जाके वो इंटरव्यू तो नहीं दे रहा है बाहर जाके टी ब्रेक में, तो the trust will go off. The trust you should as a founder you should build. भाई अगर तुमको जाना है बिल्कुल जाओ, I'll give you the reference. मुझे 2 महीने का समय दे देना, 1 महीने का समय दे देना, तब तक तुम निश्चिंत रहो, जितने दिन हो उस दिन बढ़िया काम करो. वरना क्या होता है कि पहले दिन से आप वाउच करना शुरू करते हैं और दूसरे दिन से वो CV अपडेट करना शुरू कर देता है. इसके अलावा और कुछ नहीं होता है.
Guys, that was all the stories that we can tell here because our time's up. So before I wrap up, I would just quickly want you guys to give a word of advice to the HR community in terms of like what should they do really with the opportunity that they have in their hands. In your organization, what do you expect the HR department to drive? Ricky?
For me, that's less speak, have a bigger ear, and that's tight eyes on your colleagues. That's क्या है, HR should not be too much reactive, but I find they are too much reactive. Because they work with the founder directly, so they become the power center. They set the careers of the people. So once they become the power center, पता चलेगा आपका छुट्टी का भी एप्लीकेशन नहीं छूट हो पाता है. So कुछ न कुछ अड़ंगा लग जाएगा आपके प्रमोशन पे. उनको लगता है, जिसको नहीं होता है, शायद ना हो. So benchmarking, which you said, that's a benchmarking, transparency. These are the thing for the founder and promoter to have within the HR. पहले आप HR को सही कीजिए कि जो benchmarking हो, जो कर सके. HR should be very much transparent, but HR generally होता नहीं है transparent. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I have been employee, I have been an entrepreneur, I have been a founder. Now I am an investor into the company. But I found HR is the most manipulative community. Sorry. So no. So that's a compliment because they work for the promoter. So if promoter wants only to promote 5 people, so they'll address whole sheet, promotion sheet, as per the need of only 5 people will get promoted. That's you said, no, because you're the manipulator. You said, rightly you said.
She has no option.
No. That's an illusion. That's an illusion that HR is a center point. And we deal with the 100 people's mind. It's not. 100 people deal with you. You have to remember that.
Oh, please don't take it psychologically. It's okay. It's a recommendation.
Manipulated, it all depends upon the top management or founders. If they said that drive in this way, HR will drive in that way.
बिल्कुल. देखिए एक
They just follow the orders. Am I right?
बिल्कुल सही.
Like bureaucracy, follow the order of politician. That's all. The HR does that.
बिल्कुल सही आपने कहा. इससे देखिए एक छोटी सी बात मैंने कहा है HR कम्युनिटी को कि मैनिपुलेटिव हैं. इतना आपको कलेजे तक लग गया. आप ये सोचिए कि आप दिन भर बाकी एम्प्लॉइज को कहते रहते हैं. You just imagine. क्या आपको पलट के कह पाता है वो? नहीं. HR भी एम्प्लॉई है. ये भूल जाते हैं कि HR भी एम्प्लॉई है.
Yes, I would like to make one point, sir. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Tumul, and I'm heading HR for a Delhi tech company. So I always definitely make this point to everyone. See, HR is like a parent, So you have to handle all the employees like your kids. So जब आपके 4 बच्चे होते हैं, हम सबको अलग अलग तरीके से मोटिवेट करते हैं, डांटते भी हैं, है ना. जो बात शायद एक बच्चा अच्छे से समझ रहा है, दूसरा बच्चा वो उस तरीके से वो लैंग्वेज नहीं समझेगा. तो हमें उनका माइंड रीड करके उनको मतलब चैनलाइज करना पड़ता है, उनके एनर्जी को, हर चीज़ को. सिमिलरली हम अपने ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स को भी हैंडल करते हैं. उनके बीच का वी ब्रिज द गैप बिटवीन आवर किड्स एंड ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स. तो कहीं ना कहीं HR का रोल एक पेरेंट की तरह हो जाता है कंपनी में, कि आप अपने बॉस को भी मतलब हैंडल करो और बीच में लाइक अपने एम्प्लॉयज़ को भी, लाइक फाउंडर एंड द एम्प्लॉयज़, दैट वे.
मजेदार बातें हैं.
थैंक यू सो मच.
जो आपने एक वर्ड कहा ना, हैंडल, ये भी HR की प्रॉब्लम है कि हम सब कुछ हैंडल करते हैं. सी आप कहते हैं कि उनको किड की तरह हम जो है पालते हैं, देखते हैं। आपका बच्चा 18 साल के बाद हो जाता है, आप तब भी डरते हैं, 36 साल तक भी डरते हैं, बट 18 साल 16 साल का बच्चा नहीं डरता है, हो जाता है, घूम के चला आता है। आई गिव यू वन माई पर्सनल स्टोरी। माई सन ही लिव्स इन जर्मनी, ही वॉज स्टडिंग इन जर्मनी। तो वो पिछले साल आया, पिछले साल यहाँ पे आया और कहा कि डैड मैं डिनर पे जा रहा हूँ। मैंने कहा कि ठीक है डिनर पे जाओ। चला गया, 10 बज गया, 10:30 बज गया, 11 बजे रात के 11:30 बज गया और आई वॉज इन पैनिक। फिर मैं गया, एक चीज़ मैंने सोची कि यार ही लिव्स इन जर्मनी, बाकी 365 दिन तो मुझे नहीं पता चल रहा है कि वो 11:30 बजे आ रहा है कि 12 बजे आ रहा है कि 1 बजे आ रहा है कि 2 बजे आ रहा है। तो यहाँ पे मैं इतना पैनिक क्यों हो जा रहा हूँ? इंडिया में क्यों गया हुआ है नोएडा डिनर पे और फिर 11:30 बजे आएगा कि 12 बजे आएगा कि 1 बजे आएगा? तो यू हैव टू थिंक कि दे आर इक्वल। जितना हम सोच सकते हैं, जितनी उम्र के हम हैं, उतने बाकी एम्प्लॉय भी उसी उम्र के हैं। दे आर ऑल्सो स्पेशलाइज्ड। फाइनेंस का गाय चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट अगर होगा तो स्पेशलाइज्ड ही होगा ना। बीइंग HR, you do not have any kind of edge over that fellow कि नहीं हम तो HR के हैं तो आपको जो है संभालेंगे, या फाउंडर मेरे बगैर नहीं संभल पाएगा।
Kanika,
Yeah.
please.
So I just very quickly, I'll say 5 quick pointers. 2 pointers is that because we are talking to HRs day in and out, and I'm not trying to make up for the controversy that happened, but because, I'm genuinely in that boat, okay? When I'm wearing a founder's hat, because it's a critical HR hat also, you have to take tough calls, right? And if I take out that hat, my human hat comes, and I'm like, I wouldn't have been like that to the person if it was just me, okay? 2 points. HR's job is going to keep getting tougher. First, because you have to start adapting to hybrid workforce. It's here, and it's going to stay. And India is evolving the fastest. Western countries have already evolved. So you have to keep that in mind. Second, 70 to 75% of your workforce, I'm repeating again, is going to be millennials and Gen Z. And the way they work and their expectations are going to be very different. So we always tell even HRs that, you have to upskill yourself. Now, the 3 pointers that I just want to leave with you from if I'm in your shoe, first, start viewing your employees as human beings. अभी तक हम उनको human doings की तरह treat करते हैं, right? And which means maintaining a balance to understand that they are, it's a person who's coming to work. They bring their personal problems also. When we assess, we realize that 70% of the frustration, issues that they bring is because of what they are bringing from their personal life, which gets mixed with their work. So if we work with that mindset, it helps. Probably the last thing I want to tell you, there are now so many tools, platforms, everything that human resources are being bombarded with. They say that CHRO is going to be the next CMO sort of a seat. You're going to data-driven, you're going to be more like not a cost center, but a center which is going to drive the engines of the company. We tell our clients, please don't just jump and buy into everything. Start with assessment. Start with understanding where do you stand and prioritize according to that. Just because किसी ने अच्छा EAP लिया हुआ है, हम भी सब कुछ करेंगे, does not work. So when you're talking to your leaders, to your, whoever the decision makers are there for you, always go with what needs to happen in your organization as a priority. And a lot of us forget to assess. So in whatever areas, assessments are very important. That's the only thing that I want to...
Thank you. So essentially what Kanika is trying to say is somewhere close to what Sadhguru has been saying lately, which is human is not a resource. Let's explore that as a perspective also. It's important to be more conscious about who we are dealing with. Smriti.
So if there's one thing I've learned in the past 10 years and in the past 10 minutes of this panel is, मुझे HRs को कोई advice नहीं देनी है. That's the first thing I learned. But jokes apart, I personally feel, as a founder, a lot of times you wear the HR's hat. Not a lot of times, almost all the times. And especially as a founder, just an open door policy rakhiye. Koi bhi dikkat hai to aa jao. So the problem is that there's so many people coming day in and day out with the teensiest and tiniest of problems, which for them is the biggest thing at that point of time. And you are in the middle of something very critical, and you have to keep that mindset aside and then flip and switch to that meager problem that person is having and pretend that this is the most important thing to you as well. I think it's a very hard job. And I also feel it's a very thankless job. So personally, मुझे ये लगता है कि human resources as a domain has that one big drawback that it's a thankless job. People are always looking at the things you did not do versus the things which you've actually done. And as a founder, I can empathize with that. Like I said, I don't want to give any advice, but I just want to say a few pointers out here. One is similar to what you mentioned, that the world is constantly evolving, right? So we had Gen Zs, millennials, now we have, you know, the different generations coming, who knows who's going to be next. And everyone has their own requirements. Everyone has their own expectations from what they want from a company. So personalizing any type of benefit structure becomes really important. What worked in our grandfather's age will not work in our children's age. So it's very different. Maybe the next generation cares about sustainability, and which it seems like they will. Maybe they care more about the environment. Maybe they care more about giving back to the society, because their basic Maslow's hierarchy is already covered. So they are actually at the level of self-actualization, what else can I do for the rest of the people? So it's important to keep ourselves updated with what these changing employee needs are, and then devise solutions accordingly, whether it's technology adoption, whether it's changing the mentality of people, whether it's different structures for different type of generations, that becomes very important. And the second is, HR is not just hiring and therapizing people and just being that permanent therapist in the company. HR is much more than that. So you have compensation benefits, you have recruitment, you have talent management, you have general survey feedback mechanisms. There are so many aspects to HR. And I think it is important for the community to well-verse themselves with all of these aspects and not just stick to one, so that your own capabilities in terms of growth, in terms of exposure, and in terms of how you can move ahead in your own careers also becomes important. Because if it's your job to recognize everybody, who is recognizing you? So you have to take that onus on yourself and just grow and learn as much as you can, because it's a continuous evolving process. Just like it's for a founder, it is for an HR as well. That's all I have to say.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. I think this is where we'll wrap up. It was a great talk. I enjoyed it a lot. I hope same for everybody. Claps one more time. Thank you. Dr. Nishat, to you.
All right. So that being said, thank you so much again to all our speakers for joining in. The next session is something about the ROEI. Anybody who can tell me the full form of ROEI?
Hello.
Yes,
Return
please.
on investments.
Return on?
Investments.
Employee investment. That's correct. That is return on employee investment. And so that's entirely what we are going to talk about today, right? So I truly believe that, and everybody, I'm sure, every employer for that matter, that every rupee that you spend to, or indirectly towards the employees counts as an investment. Correct? And especially recruiters are accountable for every rupee that goes to these employees, be it through trainings or the salaries, bonuses, well-being, any perks that you're giving to them, anything and everything is an investment. And that has to be showed in numbers. Your employers ask numbers from you all, not just the efforts that the employees are making. Correct? So to talk about that and to ensure how we can rightly assess this investment, we have our moderator first, if I can please call on stage. That is Karthik Mandavile, the CEO and founder of Springworks, our gracious moderator for today. Thank you so much, Karthik. Going ahead with our first speaker for the session is Dr. GP Rao, the founder and managing partner of GPR HR Consulting. Our next speaker is Ashi Chutani, the AVP HR of Office Space Solutions, a co-working space network. Our third speaker is Gunjan Mishra, the head HR of RNF Technologies. And next up, we have Neeraj Mehra, the VP HR of APAC, ME, and UK of Infogain. Can you please take your seats?
Hi everyone, this is Karthik. I'm the founder, CEO of Springworks. So we're talking about ROEI. I heard some people say emotional intelligence, whatnot. Just to clarify, this is return on employee investment. So in the world of TCS, Infosys, Wipro, it used to be very clear. It was a services consulting business. The salary is 10 lakhs, your overhead is 5 lakhs, and then you know what amount of dollars you want to generate from a person because deploy to US and where out, right? So very clear ROI on the cost of an employee. But in today's world where we're moving towards the product consulting, building products and whatnot, moving away from the consulting business, how do you measure ROEI? What does it even mean? And how do we go from there? So we'll first start with a very quick audience question. And the first one is, when you think of ROEI, what is the first word which comes to your mind, right? In terms of how do you measure ROEI, right? Audience, yes. Any guesses? Accuracy, quantification, value? Sure. So that means we have a lot to talk about ROEI. So I'll go with Dr. GP Rao first, right? So technology is a passive asset, right? It's an enabler of human intelligence. So, and generally all processes inside the company will generate data as a byproduct, right? Your employee surveys and whatnot. But what are the data points which are required to measure ROEI, right? How do you even go about measuring ROEI?
I am not manipulating the answer. I will accept that accusation, allegation of manipulation, as long as we manipulate manifestation, we manipulate multiplication, we manipulate actualization of the potential of people. I'm okay with that accusation. Having said that, if it is only ROEI, that is return on employee investment, the data points, my answer would have been different. But the moderator says, assuming that everything is with technology and AI, assuming that all people processes are driven by technology and AI, I'll limit it to. So some people consider AI as artificial intelligence. I consider it as additional intelligence, additional to me. But having said that, while we all talk about collaboration, somewhere in our mind we say that somebody is coming and taking over from us. Always it comes with us. So I will say, while we were always okay with technology helping us in getting our routine things, repetitive things, a little manual kind of things, with greater efficiency, greater speed, it was okay. But now I will say I'll challenge that AI and technology and ask for data points. My data points from a company point of view, will AI and technology will enhance my quality of connect with people. I was not able to meet people, large number of people, and able to spend time. Will technology and AI will help me? That's a good data point. If it does, welcome. If it is from, again, a CFO point of view, or an investor point of view, or a founder's point of view, this AI and technology, as compared to when people processes were managed, delivered by human beings, will they bring more productivity, more growth, more numbers, KPI? Then let me come to the employee side. From an employee point of view, 2 data points. One data point is, after AI and technology has come, my ease of access has gone up. I can reach out to a manager, I can reach out to the policy section, I can ask for a solution, that can be a data point from an employee point of view. My last data point is end of the day, our human possibilities, our human potential, whatever name by you call it, we need to grow, develop all the time. So for me, an L&D is an important data point. Will AI and technology help me in my L&D training, learning in a greater length? These were my 4 data points. Thank you.
Perfect.
You are not clapping for me. Manipulate. Manifest.
Sure. Go ahead.
As long as I deserve.
And I think Dr. Rao just said very, very nicely, when we say we need to develop our functional skills with respect to how do we hire, how many do we hire, how does the exit process take place, how good are our processes, how well we have executed them. I think it's very, I always say, develop the human skills as well. So along with the functional skills, the human skills are going to take us a long way around.
Thank you for that. So I think now that we've talked about the data points, so what's the next step, right? So we've figured out what data points we should be tracking at a high level. How do we actually start measuring them, right? What are the different strategies do you think we should be using as an HR in our organization to measure these data points, or all leading towards the ROEI?
First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I am Gunjan Mishra, and I'm heading the HR vertical at RNF. It's been 9.5 years I'm associated with the same organization. Let me also tell you what actually RNF does. RNF has got 4 verticals. It operates into 4 major areas: staff augmentation, casino gaming applications, digital marketing, and the last one is events and conferences. So I'm also an engineering graduate and pursued PGD HRM. Also talking about, I began my career with HCL and have worked with several large organizations prior to RNF. So I think, as Karthik rightly asked, the strategies that I've been using at RNF. So at RNF, I've been using several strategies that have helped us measure ROEI effectively. There were actually many, so I literally had to note it down. So the first strategy that we use at RNF is because we strongly believe if we do not take care of the people, somebody else will. So with this mindset, we regularly conduct employee engagement surveys that helps us to understand how motivated, satisfied, committed our employees are. It also helps us to, it also helps us in higher retention, and higher retention automatically leads to higher productivity. It also helps us save on, training and hiring cost. Another one is performance matrix, wherein we track teams and individual performances. Of course, it has to be aligned with our organizational goals. Suppose if you're doing it, which can include sales targets achieved, project completion rates, client or maybe customer satisfaction scores, also operational efficiency matrix. All of this help us to gauge how effectively our employees are contributing to the organizational goals, because that's also very important for us to know. We also keep a close eye on how many employees leave or versus how many employees stay with us. That also says a lot about a culture, because if a culture of the company is good, employee would stick to an organization for a longer period of time. That will also help us save on training and hiring cost. Another is training and development ROI, wherein we assess our training and development programs to track how many skills development were there, how many certifications were obtained. Also, what was the improvement in the overall performance? Productive, and of course, productivity also helps us to boost an ROEI. Exit interviews. Whenever there is an exit interview, we ensure that we take the feedback, because it gives us a feedback, also, areas of improvement, because I strongly believe if somebody who's leaving the organization is probably the right person to give you the honest feedback about the organization. So that also helps us and eventually enhance the ROEI. Automated HR software and tools, we have a complete HRMS, automated HRMS. So we are able to save a lot of money, time, also data accuracy is also there. So that we can put in our efforts instead of doing this manual work into other direction. There were actually, I'm sorry, I had to note it down, but there were many actually. Benchmarking is one, longitudinal analysis is one. We also work with finance team to link our HR matrix with the performance, with financial performance matrix. At times we also quantify, we need to quantify the amount of work we're doing, also how these HR investment that we're making are actually contributing to the organizational growth. And I think there are actually many, but I would just maybe say one more. Cost of recruitment and hiring, we also compare it with our retention efforts so that we can actually, wherein we can actually, we can see the financial impact of the HR initiatives that we're taking and how is it helping the organization to grow. But having said all of this, I think we at RNF, we strongly also believe, Mr. Richard Branson, there's a quote by Mr. Richard Branson, that if you take care of your employees will take care of your business. Thank you so much. We'll give him an opportunity again to speak maybe more on this topic because he's definitely an expert and would definitely like to give insights.
Sure.
Thank you.
So yeah, I think that kind of covered all the different ways and strategies around this, right? And I think you spoke multiple times about the recruitment, the hiring, and recently I've been I just talked to this one founder, ex Darwin Box, I think head of sales from South India, and they had built like this entire new alumni portal, and they're like the pitch for them is all about bounce back hires, right? And that's becoming like a new thing where people leaving the company are coming back in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, right? So it's not, and you talked about the exit interviews, right? It's not, the journey does not end at the exit, it actually goes beyond. It's like how colleges and educational institutes have alumni portals. Looks like, maybe over time companies also do that. And that's where your ROEI, doesn't stop. The ROI doesn't stop at the exit, probably goes beyond with referrals and bounce backs, right? So anyway, so we've talked about all of these data points. So the next biggest thing is once we have the data points, we have the strategies, how do we take it to the management? How do we take it to the board? How do we take it to the CXOs and say, okay, this is the ROI we have shown, give us the budget for the tools, the team, whatnot. So, Neeraj, would you like to add on, about this?
Sure. So good evening, everybody. I'm Neeraj. I work for a company called Infogain. We are an IT services firm. And I manage the HR business partnering role for close to 5,000 people spread across India, Middle East, UK, and Singapore. I think, the last conversation was quite interesting. Can't stop myself from commenting a bit on that. I belong to a very different school of thought. And I think that HR is an important function because we understand people better than anybody else. And I keep saying this to everybody that everybody, if you're not, even if you're selling commodities or a soap or a detergent, it is getting sold by a human being. And I think everybody who understands people, whether he's in HR or he's not, he should be proud of himself because come what may, even if AI comes our way, you will still need people to talk to, and people who understand people will still have jobs. That's my first take on that. What is also very important is for HR to understand, and this is an interesting question that my CEO asked me as early as this Wednesday, that Neeraj, what is you and your team doing to help win new business? Okay, and and I asked this question to my entire team, that we keep talking about different things that we are doing. We are not a team of making rangolis, which a lot of people are kind of associate us as a team of. So we are here as a team who has to think about now what are we doing to ensure that we are trying to new business for the organization. Because we are at that stage in our journey at an organization that everybody needs to come together and contribute towards business. And we call at least I call myself as a business HR team, and the business words comes first. So I think when I have to go to the management, there are various things that we do in terms of if we are trying to get any new investment. The first and foremost, most important thing is that do me and my team understand what is the vision and goal of the organization. I push my team to go and sit with people on the ground to understand the products that they are creating, understand their day-to-day problems, and then identify problems and then look for solutions either internally or externally. And only then we are able to go to the management and say that we want investments. Giving a simple example, we started at Infogain 5 years back. We started working with Great Place to Work. I'm sure it's a known organization that does cultural audit. Our first engagement score, and I have no shame to share that our first engagement score was just around 55% 5 years back. And we took a journey from 55 to today 80, and we are a great place to work. And we see a startling difference in the way that the organization performs. So we were able to create that ROI to our management that, because we have the right culture in the organization, and it is tied up because we want to grow as a company. It's a great investment, and year on year we were able to help the organization grow. Investment in things like co-pilot.
Sorry, 1 second. I think that's a very important point. So taking the Great Place to Work certification, going through that training, measuring where you are, and then showing a direct correlation to the ROI in terms of new business created, right? I think that's a great way to get new budget or even continuing budget, right? So, how did you convince the management in the first place, right? Probably that's the hardest, right? Like, they've never done this, it's a new thing.
So I think that if I remember 5 years back, our business was stagnant, our attrition was all-time high. We used to do a lot of HR connects. We used to see cultural challenges on the floor where managers used to talk to their employees and say that if you don't work, I'll fire you from tomorrow. That was the kind of culture that was sitting in the organization. So we collected a lot of data from our employees, analyzed it and projected in front of the management. That this is a data that, that we have gathered. But if you really want to understand the real pulse on the ground, you have to have you have to take external help, which is anonymous. And it really came out during the first survey that, and one of the ELT leaders, I remember when I was presenting the results, was that our employees said that our employees rated us very low on our ethical practices. And he was shocked, right, that how can people say that we don't do anything unethical. And I tried to make him understand that this is the perception that people have, and perception is reality. So that is how we were able to create that journey with first data collection of talking to a lot of people, because one of the bread and butter of me and my team is to talk to people. Right? That was one example that, that I can share.
So did that lead to short-term ROI in, reduction in attrition as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, when I joined 6 years back, our attrition was almost at the rate of 32%. With the cultural change, every year we saw a reduction in the attrition. Nice. We now sit around 13% of attrition.
Wow.
So obviously, we are a great place to work. And, if I really tell you the journey that we have covered with Great Place to Work, in the last 4 years, we have acquired 4 entities. We have gone through a bullish market, in 2022-23. And still our culture and, attrition remained under control, and our score continued to increase. So you can imagine, with this kind of situation and so much of turmoil of when you acquire new organizations, you have to integrate them culturally in the organization. And every company that got acquired in a size of 400, 500 plus people, always saw an upside in terms of the score, in their scores as well as, the organization score. right? So these are some of the examples. This is one example, and then there are many more examples. Like we have invested towards Copilot. We've tried to make people understand that the idea is to bring in more efficiency, and we were able to sell it to our customers as well, because customers are also asking that in this competitive market, how can you ask me for more money when there is AI in the market, and that's the buzzword, nobody knows about it, but everybody wants to use it. But we were able to get that investment, right, from the management, that this will bring in efficiency, and we also invest towards skills which the sales team is trying to sell in the market, right? So we have a bench of employees who are upskilled and trained ahead of time, and our sales team continues to, give us that input that these are the skills that our customers is asking for. Can you make sure that there is a bench ready? It's always a, catch-up situation. It's a cat and mouse race. Sure. But we are, these are certain things that we are able to, towards learning and development. Because, from the business leader's perspective, he will only give you a dime if he sees an ROI, towards winning new business, right? And, this question to me, which I asked my team as well, and I will make sure that I give that answer to my CEO, that what can me and my team do to win new business? I think that's the change that I feel that all of us in HR need to really think and bring in, which can really help us to continue to have the seat on the table.
Yeah, sure.
While listening to all, I'm still getting concerned that HR was undervalued. I feel concerned. So let us clarify that, then proceed with the ROEI and all. What we do, HR, number one is creating, nurturing values in the organization. One value, okay? Values in the organization. The second value, employees are valued in the organization. That's the second value. First one is values, the second is value. Third is, everybody in the organization does value addition. It is not HR adding value addition. HR has a larger role, wider role, a greater role of helping everyone in the organizations to add value. So if at all, any time you want to measure the value of HR is, values are nurtured, lived. People are valued in the organization, and everybody is adding value. No other, this is the best an organization where function can contribute and remain a valued function in organization. I was bothering, I thought I'll tell. Now we can proceed with you.
I think we should get the CEOs back into the room and then have them listen to. Yes. No, I think next time we should have Keka have the HR sit on the stage and have all CEOs there and listen to ROEI. So they can all see the impact of HR and what is the ROI in terms of new business, attrition, and and whatnot, right? So moving on to the last question before we open up to the audience, right? So what role does behavioral assessments play in the entire equation of ROEI, right? Why is it even required? How does it make sense?
Thanks. So we've touched upon technology a little bit. We've touched upon surveys a little bit. We have touched upon the metrics a little bit there with Gunjan. I think it's important to understand, what do these behavioral assessments do for us? So these behavioral assessments tell us about what is an individual's strengths versus areas of improvement, competency levels, tendencies, preferences, and there are many, many tools available for it. And we'll just touch upon them very, very briefly over the next couple of minutes. When they tell us about an individual's strengths versus areas of improvement, don't they tell us what is a person best at doing and what is a person not best at doing? Should we not alter our strategies accordingly? Should we not do a job fitment accordingly to ensure that we are getting the best from the people? Do you think that's not going to leverage the employee's strength? I'm sure it will. And that's how the game of ROEI changes, through the use of behavioral assessments. And I am just addressing this in general. However, there are many, many tools available in the market today to understand what your organization needs. Another thing is these tools, these behavioral assessments also tell us about what are the key strength areas, what are the high performance areas versus the high risk areas. With these high performances, how the productivity and performance is going to be measured and impacted versus what are these high-risk people or high-risk groups are going to pose a risk to our organization. How would the team dynamics, the collaboration game changes when we hire these people? So I think the whole ROEI changes there. Then again, I think I just spoke briefly about the fitment with the job. Could you imagine, and I'm saying this with my practical experience because I've used in my career a lot of these behavioral tools. So could you imagine using a behavioral assessment tool for a marketing person, a digital marketing person, who comes up as not so creative in the assessment tool? What a mismatch that's going to be. And then we talk about productivity, then we talk about retention. The game changes there, right? So I think it's important to keep those aspects into the picture. I've personally used in my career the behavioral assessments for a lot of succession planning as well, not individually by itself as a tool. So when you use the behavioral assessment, so what does MBTI do? We all know Myers-Briggs test indicators, right? What does MBTI do? It tells us about your leadership styles, it tells us about your personality traits, right? When we do the succession planning for an N or an N-1 levels, this is what actually plays a key role. How are we going to place the -1s there? Who is going to be our next level of leadership? Who actually lacks in some things? Where and how HR can intervene to develop tailor-made programs for these individuals. We certainly don't want to lose them. They are either the HODs or the CXOs. So why not bring some changes in them? Why not make some programs for them which are actually beneficial? So succession planning is something where we can use behavioral assessment tools. Another thing I can say from my practical experience, I've led a lot of OD projects in my current and in my previous organizations. Worked with a lot of the big-wig consulting firms on this. One of the things is a change management. Whenever an organization decides to go for restructuring or a transition program, and these could be from a smaller scale to a very, very large scale, where even the branding and the name and the color coding changes, how do you want to assess how people are ready to accept those changes? Where is the resistance coming from? Can we have some HR strategies? Can we have some mitigation tools to understand how we can understand their minds and how we can influence them? I've used Adgar model with one of my previous organizations.
So if I can quickly interrupt,
yeah.
I think maybe the audiences may not be aware. So Office just went through private to a public. They did an IPO, and I think I'm sure the OD was very instrumental in getting that kind of change. Is that
we are,
something
yes, Karthik. I would not be able to share much of details because of our UPSI and everything. But yes, we have. And we are still undergoing those changes, all for the better good. As we go larger, as we go stronger, I think there are some of the basics that we need to put into place.
Yeah, I think it's just one more thing. So it's just like a great place where, I think a lot of people would think that IPOs are a, place, maybe it's CXOs and company secretary and whatnot, but it's also a very big, important role for the HR team as well, right?
Yes. In fact, there are key departments to it that plays role. And mind you, when I say that, there are not just these department heads. There are the whole teams down to the line percolating deep, that have contributions to it. So it's not just one person, or it's not, similarly, I say it's not just one behavioral model that can be copied, but there are many, many. So when you do the changes, I think it's important to understand how much is the resistance to change coming in and from where it's coming down. Can we do some strategizing there? How can we bring the people quotient up there? How can we safeguard the ROEI factor to bring in those? And I think, like I said, there are a couple of catches here, guys. When we use these behavioral assessments, there are a couple of catches to note. Do we understand the organizational needs? If you don't, none of this is going to help. It's a whole canvas, it's a whole picture there. So, these tools will not be able to help if you don't know what is the desired output that the organization is trying to achieve. Another thing is, while one tool may not be enough in itself to be used, it may not be the one solution fits all kind of a thing, but you could use multiple tools to it. So when you use an MBTI, you might as well do a disk profiling of the department to see. People who fall into the, let's say, I don't know how many of us know the disk profiling, but see if you are if you're high in your consciousness factor, maybe more suitable for analytical roles and everything. So some of these tools need to be married. I mean, for succession planning, I've used one tool, but I've also alongside used a 360 assessment with qualitative inputs. And those were very, very personalized. A little bit of an extra effort, but worth trying it out. And I think the way the storyline came out to be was very, very accurate. So I think that makes sense to people. And when it makes sense to people, things start to roll into the right places. So understand what your organization needs. Try to mix and match the tools. And one very, very critical thing, Karthik, with behavioral assessments is the validity part of it. If I've undergone a behavioral assessment, let's say in 2022, may no longer be valid as on 2024. So make sure the validity time period generally for a scale is about 1 year. So make sure that people undergo these tests, and who all are going to be your audience to undergo the test is very, very clearly defined. So I think from metrics viewpoint to technology to what sort of value HR brings on the table, behavioral assessments do play a very critical role in it. And I think the more you deep dive into it, the more beauty and the more meaning you find in it.
Sure.
Wonderful. I want to bring in one more aspect. We deal with human beings. They want to know why rather than what and how. More is why. Let me tell you. We have done a research. We met 300 leaders. We asked them, between Vyapar and Vyavhar, one is business, the other is behavior. Which is more important? उन्होंने सब लोग हमको आमिर खान का डायलॉग सुना दिया. अगर आपका व्यवहार अच्छा होगा, व्यापार झक मार के पीछे पीछे आएगा. इसलिए व्यवहार is always important. I want this AI and technology to give me more and more regular, authentic, validated insights about the behavioral competency of person, because that is more important. That will drive business. Whatever you all said is right. But then the human being should know why we give so much importance to behavior. Thank you.
Sure. So given that, Dr. G.P. Rao, you've worked with many large enterprises and public listed companies as well, right? So how did you convince the board and all about the Vyavhar aspect, the behavioral aspect, and where everyone's like, okay, we have to look at top line. No one is really thinking about anything else.
Wonderful. One is this research data, that behavior will lead to business, or business follows your behavior is right. This is research data. End of the day, the founders, the CEO, or the CXOs, they always believe in your so-called ROEI. End of the day. So for example, I want to introduce a technology and AI in HR, like any other business. They would like to know 3 things. Just now you clapped for people. So your best claps are the claps. Try once again. The best claps are the claps which are faster, which are louder and longer. Can you try? Business understands that I want results faster. Business would like to know that I do not want softer side, I want harder side, louder. Business wants to know that not one day, not today, not tomorrow, forever. Business wants sustainability. Our investment should lead to results. End of the day, results which are faster, which are louder, clearer, and which are longer, sustainable. That's what a businessman would always look forward to. I always, whenever I give this proposal, I recommend this proposal, I always say, this is what you will get. And we'll see that they get it. And I, as a consultant, I work in a success fee model. I will take the 90% of the fee, only they get the success. Thank you. I have a little branding. Chalo.
So you were actually talking about business, business, business. So it's not business actually who give ideas. It's not business who make strategies. It's our people. So I think if people are being taken care of, business will automatically be taken care of. So I think let's
And
take
I
care of our
think-
people. Business apne aap ho jayega.
And I think Karthik, if behaviors and motivations in today's time can also be quantified. And once they're quantified, the surveys like Great Place to Work, they just make sense to us, right? You've seen tremendous results in your organization. I've seen it in mine as well. So they just make sense to us. So as an HR, try to see when you go to the boardroom, try to see that everything that we're talking about as an HR can be quantified. If it is quantified, it is sold. Thanks.
Quantify पे एक चीज़ add करनी है. We are also Great Place to Work certified. We got the certification this year. When I went to management, you know what, we want to go for this. So I actually sent my team initially to to go and ask for an approval. So they said, you know, X company has gotten it, so we also want it. So that's not how, you know, at times we being an HR also have to quantify our performances, quantify the initiatives that we want to take up for the organization, especially when it comes to higher budget. So quantify जो एक word है ना आजकल ROEI हमें भी देना पड़ता है at times. Why are we doing it? Why is it important? How is it going to add value to the organizational goals? So our tough is becoming tougher, and I think toughy hoti ja rahi hai day by day, as she rightly said. And yeah, I think you also wanted to add something.
So I think my suggestion to everybody who is in HR or who wants to be in HR is to understand that the people that they are working with, because business leaders understand numbers more than anything else. So whatever you are trying to get as an investment, try to find problems within the organization and then supplement them with solutions. You know, the behavioral assessments that you talked about, you know, just as an example, at some point, I think 1.5 years back, we started seeing a lot of people management issues within the middle management. And there was a lot of attrition that started happening for manager, senior manager grade. So we identified that as a problem, and then one of the things that we were able to take as an investment from the CEO was that anybody who gets hired in the organization who is a manager and above would get interviewed by an HR business partner, right?
Yeah,
So that is a time investment.
Proven very effective, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's a time investment, and the objective was to, and I myself interview candidates at senior grades to look at their cultural fitment in the organization, and we always supplement that with a behavioral assessment. And the ROI that we were able to present to the management was that there is better synergy, you know, at that level. There is less of attrition, and you know, you have, you know, better output coming out.
Yeah, the whole team dynamics change. The whole game of collaboration is far more deeper in an organization.
And at times, you know, you have to find out bad apples in the system. Sure. You know, who are people who are spoiling the culture of the organization. And, you know, at times, take that as an example of doing an assessment with somebody who is willing to become your guinea pig and, you know, get that approval from the management.
Yeah.
So I'd like to cut short. So we'd like to get to the audience questions. We have, 7 minutes left? Sure. Yeah, we already have one person.
Good evening, panelists. Thank you for the lovely session. One question, because you are HR leaders, foremost leaders, what are the skill sets that you are looking forward to in your own teams from the HRs pertaining to the current generations, the minimalists, the I don't know, Gen Zs? Okay, what is the skill set that you're looking into from the HRs or the upcoming HRs?
Can I answer this for you?
All of you can answer this for me.
Sure. So when it comes to, I've been hiring a lot of freshers nowadays, and I've been visiting a lot of campuses as well. So the only thing that I look for, especially Gen Z, is will. Skills can be taught. So we hire for skills. Also, there are two questions also that I often ask those people. One is, how do you handle rejection in life? And how do you stay motivated during challenging times? These two answers, based on their answers on these questions is something I decide and I accordingly hire them. So I think when it comes to at RNF, we hire for will. Skills we teach over the period of time.
So if I can add, I hire for attitude. I don't care, which college do you come from. Sorry, no offense to people who have great education. But I seriously hire for attitude, and I like people, and I hire people who are, willing to accept their mistakes in life, who are willing to make more mistakes, new mistakes. I think that's the kind of people that I need in my team, who can make mistakes and come and tell me that I have made a mistake. I think that's the kind of people I look for when I'm trying to hire.
Okay, if you are from B schools or E schools,
Why would the ATS reject you?
Okay.
Looks like you applied in his company.
Okay. I think due to paucity of time, if you are from a B school and E school, here is the checklist. Contextual sensitivity. Whatever you have learned, can you do? Contextual sensitivity. Commercial acumen, baniya buddhi. Do you understand how a rupee can be stretched? Third is communication, not English. Impactful communication. Next, can you learn faster? Creative learning. Last, collaboration. Can you work with that gen, this gen, future gen, bhutpurv gen, bhavishya gen? That's all we do. Thank you.
Sir, I have a question. GP Rao, sir. Sir, I have a question to you.
Oh, yes.
So, into a transformation journey from a bureaucratic and transactional leadership to transformational leadership, what is the tip that you give us to, take a buy-in from the management or al-baniya buddhi? It's a very difficult task because they are themselves very bureaucratic and transactional in leadership, but they want that transformational journey. So how do we look and pitch for that sale?
And that pitches to the management to get the budget.
Yeah, totally to the management, the promoters.
I wanted to answer it, but I think the session is being recorded, so I would not. I would
No,
let somebody
you're
else
most
answer
welcome,
this.
but then since he had a lot of experience, I opted in. Yeah, please. You're always welcome.
So I think first thing what is very important is for you to understand that what is the change that they are interested in bringing. Okay. So do we know that? Do you know that the change that they are trying to bring in, or have you understood the change that they are interested in bringing in the organization?
Still trying to figure out between the lines what exactly is. What being said is actually needed or not. Still struggling, but a question direct so that we can, intercept the thought processes.
Yeah. So I think the first, and we have gone through the journey, which I talked about. When we started at my current organization, we are a 30-year-old company, acquired by a private equity in 2015, and then I joined them in 2018. The decision making used to be in the hands of one person. So I think you have to take multiple steps to bring that change. One is to understand what is the change that they are themselves interested in doing. That is one. Second, you have to bring in people, who are next in line to them, who you feel are important to them, and bring them on your side, towards the change. The third thing important is that the owner of the business, if it is a proprietor-driven company, would only want to bring a change which will give him more money, right? Or which creates more money out of the business. So you have to also understand that whatever change that we are trying to bring, is that going to create value? I think a lot of times what happens is, and it has happened with me also multiple times, that I feel that this is important for the organization. Why the proprietor doesn't give a damn, right? So we have to understand what is important for him first. What is the change? What is important to him? What is the change that he wants to bring in? And then sneak in one of your ideas, and bring in some of the people.
Sorry, I'm stopping you. I'm looking at the watch. Quick one. We should vouch for the founders and all. Not that every time they want money. No, they understand. What they want is, they don't want rogi, people who bring rogi. because they only do production, data, and all. They become sick and make others sick. They do not want. They want people like yogis. They only do culture, care, compassion and all, no results. They do not want. They do not want bhogi. Don't do anything and get salary. They want sahayogi who can do both results and compassion together. That's what they do. If you can sell this, then they will say that, okay, you can transaction to transformation, we will proceed. Thank you. Let's proceed.
I'll just add one last bit to your question. Quantify the results that you're trying to bring in. Understand if it's addressing the pressing issues of the top management. Take a buy-in from the -1 levels instead.
Wonderful. So I think I got that Sayogi answer, and having the people closer to the management, because the resistance is very, very high for us. And out of the 3 promoters, 1 is bringing the change and 2 are in the transition of changing. So it's a big challenge for us. Thank you for
Give it a little bit of time, but keep the persistence on.
Yeah, that's on.
It's going to break in somewhere.
That's the job.
Yeah.
You also have to calculate ROI.
Yeah.
It's always go for that.
That's what I said. Quantify the results that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, that is
maybe numbers make more sense sometimes. And just keep the persistence on. It will come in.
Go with maths, facts, logics. Any logical person would understand that.
Right. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, there's one more question. Do we have time for one more question? Sure.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for this great session. It was very informative. I just have one question. Like, most of the staff actually think HR are the culprit. Most of the decisions we take for the staff, either we have to take the strict call, which comes from the founder end. Definitely, either it's a exit interview or resignation, so termination, right? So how do, and every time staff think that we are on the founder end. So how exactly we can become friend of the staff?
What was the last part?
The
last
staff
point?
thinks, yeah, exactly.
So basically, the staff is thinking that the HR is like the management. So we'll give a 30-second, 45-second answer, just in the interest of time. Anyone wants to take that up?
I did not hear the last statement that he said.
So I think you meant that the employees think or look at HR as part of the management and not really on their side. Yeah. So they're looking at termination, resignations,
I think I would refuse to answer. Mr. Rao would answer that for us.
No. Actually, it's all about positioning. All about positioning. Most of us, when we were young, we were always taking the position of 5 managers. Now we have understood that it should be more than 5. See, that neutrality in the organization sometimes were detrimental to HR people. They are neither this side nor that side. You think that you are management side, management think that you are employee side. Now we understood issue-based. If employee is right, we'll tell the management that employee is right. If the management is right, we'll come back to the employee and tell that you are right. Now we have learned that, and we have gone to the top quadrant, that is more than 5. Okay? We have already come.
इसका एक आंसर है जो राकेश जी ने बोला था, manipulation. Be manipulative. You have to find that balance between employee and the employer. So manipulation is the key, I think. And
I think when you are in a group with your people, with your employees, choose your stance, where you want to stand, whom do you want to have your lunch with, whom do you want to have your dinner with, whom do you want to have your conversations with. That will change you.
Now you know that you have to have dinner with us. Okay, next.
Perfect. John, I think can we take one more?
One last question.
Okay.
So requesting the speakers to keep it short, the answers, and the question also to be pretty short, please. Go ahead.
So like a 10-second question.
And you can connect back with us during the dinner time as well.
Hello. My question is with Gunjan. Gunjan, you are saying about the exit interview you're taking. Yeah. Do you think that the exit person give you honest feedback during the exit interview? Because I never feel this from the exit employee. They never give us a real feedback because they have a fear of BGV.
Sure.
And if they want to keep
FNF and
open their doors to return back to the same organization. So
Sure.
how this will be helpful in any way in any organization or us as an HR to take an exit interview? I think it's just as a formality we are taking. We are not getting the exact feedback from the employees.
Keep it confidential, make it anonymous. I think The employee will give you the honest feedback. That's what my experience says. Also, keep them in your confidence that, whatever information that you're going to share with us, it will remain confidential. You have to give that, comfort to that person. And I think just try and be, because, also you have to show that, yes, you've really worked on the feedback given by past employees, those have left the organization. And I think eventually it will, over the period of time, people will start being honest at the time of leaving. Do tell them, what, BGV, nothing will affect, even if you say anything bad about the organization or anything, that you have to give that confidence to that person.
I have a recommendation for you. You spend a lot of time in talent acquisition. Please spend almost that much of time in exit. Consider it is a process. Don't consider it an event.
So I think at the time...
The moment he expresses his desire that he wants to resign from there till he leaves, this is the entire process. There are so many checkpoints where you can get the truth and authentic answers you can get. It's a skill. Over to you.
Yeah, and one easy hack which we do.
I think she was asking something else as well.
That what you are saying
Sure.
that we are giving them the confidence to the employees, but all the time they have some fear. Like as I said,
So I think-
How are you conducting these exit interviews?
These are anonymous online interviews
Yeah.
only, because we also feel that they should be
Sure.
feel confident to give the feedback.
Okay, so I think one...
I just have a request.
Okay.
Could we
Probably meet
connect during the
after
dinner
this session.
time? I may
Yes,
be
any
able
and
to
every
answer
questions,
you.
I would love you all to connect with the
I'll be
speakers
very
over a
nice
cup
this
of
year.
coffee, right? The coffee is sponsored by Keka, by the way. Right, so that being said, thank you so much to all our... That being said, we have a last session for the day. That is a fireside chat. And I assure you it will be as fiery as the name suggests. It's going to be more of a debate, right? And I would like your involvement as well in it. So our speaker for the fireside chat is Colonel Tarun Vohra. He is the former VP People Ops of Blinkit. Right? Please welcome Tarun on stage, everyone. And if you can please take the seats which are empty in the front. Everybody please come on front. Great. Can everybody please settle down? Settle down, please. Right. Can you please settle down? Thank you. All right. So please, Tarun, and I'll be the moderator. I think I have not given a proper introduction of myself. I am Dr. Nishat Afzal. I head the corporate communications at Keka. The doctor is not for a PhD. I'm a maxillofacial surgeon and a criminal lawyer. So I am that doctor, not PhD doctor, just for the clarification. Yes. So, Tarun and I today will be talking about a dilemma that I think every startup faces, right? How many of you all are from startups here? A show of hands, please. Lovely. All right. So I think one of the major, challenges that you all will be facing is whether to focus on, saving your money, the profits and everything, or working on your retention strategies. Correct? Again, all of those things require a lot of money, investments and everything. And being a startup, you're short of resources, right? Be it money or be it people. Correct? So that being said, I would like to know from you, what is your priority as a startup HR professional? Is it revenue or is it the retention of people? What's more important, profits or people? Okay, a show of hands. Anybody who thinks profits is more important? Nobody? Profits? Okay, people are more important? Raise of hands. I'm assuming the others think neither is important. Equal, okay, you're neutral then, right? Okay, all right, makes sense. So Tarun, what do you think? What's more important?
Fine, Nishat, I'll just give a small introduction
Yes,
about
please.
myself, folks. I'm an ex-colonel from the Indian Army. So after putting almost about 21 years in the Indian Army, then I moved in the corporate.
Huge round of applause, everyone.
Thank you so very much. And so about 4 years plus in the corporate, 3 years plus with Amazon, and then almost a year with Blinkit. And now I'm into a transition phase into a new company. You folks will come to know in some due course of time, right? So firstly, this session in the last, the retention in the room, and we are speaking about, revenue versus retention. I think we have been able to do a good job. We still have folks over here. And considering also that we have a semi-final match also which is going on, right?
It stopped actually, it's delayed.
Awesome. Then
Yeah.
that's why that's another reason why you have the retention, right? Okay. I also come from that organization where, the Chetwood Credo, the Chetwood motto which we have at the Indian Military Academy, where it says The safety, honor, and welfare of your country comes first, always and every time. Your ease and comfort and welfare of your men comes next, and your own ease and comfort comes in the last. So that is the kind of culture which we have in the defense forces, where we always keep the people first, right? And people have been my passion. When I was there in Amazon, I was there in proper operations. Okay, but then of course I was doing many things with our PXG team to work on the aspects of talent development, career development, employee engagement, how to ensure that we have less attrition, more of retention, the work-life harmony, and so forth, right? And therefore thereafter I joined Blinkit. Now coming to the question, right?
Yes.
I think there has to be we have to strike a balance. Any startup at whatever stage it is. Please try and understand, let's not differentiate a startup with any company which is already set. Everybody wants profit, isn't it? We all are working on that particular company, be it. And, when you, I'll give you a personal example. When you are in operations, you understand the operations. And when you get into the HR, you understand the pain points of those operations, and then you try and solve them. The last speaker over here, he spoke about the business part. That business is very important. Similarly, when the business is very important, we also need to work on the people aspect. And that balance is one which actually makes a company grow. Depending, it's an initial startup, it's a seed A funding, B, C, or whatever it is, and depends on which kind of startup it is. Right.
Right, that being said, as I rightly said, this is a debate. So if any of you all feel otherwise the way we are talking, or any perception, you're more than welcome to raise your hand. There'll be no questions at the end of the session per se. If you don't agree with a specific perspective, you can definitely stand up and share your perspectives. All right, please.
Yeah, you can call me Tarun, okay? अभी वो corporate वाला हो चुका हूँ, मैं वो colonel वगैरह out हो गया, ठीक है? Anyway, but I always keep my name, of course, colonel, right?
Yeah.
So Tarun, you rightly said people and business both are important, but in a startup company, as they are having very less amount like which they need to deal with, and in a stable company, they have time where they can give to the people to improve their skill set. But in a startup company, they don't have that much time. So even if they are giving 1 month period or 2 month period, they have to take a quick call whether they are going to continue with the similar candidate or not. So in that case, how we can give enough time to people management? So if they're not giving output, in that case, in startup company, they don't retain those people. This is my understanding.
And that's an awesome question. What's a good name here?
Himanshu.
Himanshu, very well. Himanshu, see what happens is, and this is something which comes with data, right? In my erstwhile company, when we analyzed the particular data, we found out that almost about 80% of the attrition was happening in first 6 months. Now, startup is something wherein we want a plug and play. Somebody comes in, somebody starts working immediately, right? And we want, short-term gains. But at the same time, we also need to look into the long-term gains. So what we analyzed was that initial hand-holding was not taking place. Okay, now that initial hand-holding cannot take place only with the HR fraternity. It is the operations manager, it is that particular head who has to take care of that. So what we did was, we revamped the training part. Okay, so we revamped the training, we found out where were the loopholes, where that initial handholding is required, where that 101s, etc. are required, and where we can, make a proper training. So, and we started a program, we started a program 7 to Century. So what we said, if I train a particular person for 7 days, he's going to stay with us for 100 days. Once that particular person stays with us 100 days, then he or she will continue throughout. So that initial handholding, absolutely right, is one of the major importance which has to be taken care of, right?
Yeah, please.
And see, any founder would like to keep his or her people. Nobody wants that people should move out, unless and until somebody is a culturally unfit. Misfit, he's not finding it. One more thing also we should understand, right? In a startup, it is something, solving issues day on day. Something comes up, something brews up in SLP, the HR guy or HR person, he'll also jump in over there. The admin person will jump in there. The operation person will jump in there, right? But we are trying to solve that out. So you are, of course, in one of your particular domains, but then you're helping that particular entire team and solving that. So that culturally fit thing is very, very important for a startup. I hope I answered it. Cool.
Perfect. All right. So there is this one question that I ask in every single fireside chat for the audience, right? So that question is, what is your primary motivator to work? right? Because as recruiters, as startup HR professionals, you don't get a lot of applications from professionals across the globe for that matter, right? So what is the primary motivator for you yourselves to work? What is it? What's your primary motivator to work? Yes, please? Recognition. Okay, all right. Anyone else? Okay, I'll be very honest. My primary motivator to work is money. Okay, because I don't know why recognition and something else, I don't know, the attachment to my company and all of that. Okay, all of that is great, but at the end of the day, it comes down to money, right? Agar paise nahi honge, you won't go home, you won't be buying the beautiful dresses that you're wearing right now. You won't be able to come to this conference at the end of the day, right? So we had this one gentleman who said that his primary motivator to work is his boss. Anybody who feels somehow similar? Your boss? Oh, we are not sending this recording to your bosses. So it's not going to help if you are saying that your boss is a primary motivator. But why is your boss your primary motivator? Okay, it's an open door policy where you can go in, talk to your senior. You are expecting it, but are they giving it? Yeah, it's not just because you were interested in everything. It's also because they needed your skills, right? If you didn't have those skills, they wouldn't contact you at all. You are that skilled.
No, Rishit, he has a valid point. Money is one factor, yes, but there are other factors also.
That's why.
A lady said recognition. Yeah. See, there are many other factors, as you said. Money is one particular factor, and money is something wherein, of course, see, money is a factor wherein you are doing a benchmarking with the other companies who are there. How much money they are paying you. That's one factor. The second is, the kind of recognition the gentleman just brought out, the open door policy, that employee engagement, understanding it. Professor G.P. Rao initially said, when the why is known, the how becomes easy. So when you are interacting with your employees, when you are telling them why what you are doing it, involving them inside it, they also feel part of that particular company. Give them that ownership. Okay, the next thing is on the career enhancement. Now, the career enhancement, it needn't be, only a vertical enhancement has to be here. It can be an horizontal change. So suppose, I was in operations, I moved into HR, I want to move into admin, I want to move into SLP. I have done this particular bit. Somebody who has done the operations, he wants to get into training because he has put 6 to 7 years in operations. Now he wants to train the folks who are there in the operations. So there is a horizontal career enhancement which is taking place.
Correct.
So there are many other factors. The companies, like what we did was, we started an academy of our own, right? And this was for the essential workforce. I just wrote an article wherein I said, those blue collar and white collar names should be off now. Okay, this was something in 19th century, 20th century it started. Now we should call them the essential workforce. There should not be, some kind of a discrimination on that. So we started something for the essential workforce also. What are the things which we can do for them? Somebody, who's class 12 pass, can we get him a diploma? Can we get them some kind of a graduation certificate? Something on those lines. And that person will enhance in the organization. He or she is going to feel that he is the one who is being looked into. So those are the factors. Not only money is important, no doubts, but there are other factors too. Absolutely. The people want a different kind of a culture to work also, right? Gone are the days of, you'll see in a corporate or any kind of, gone are the days of shirt and trousers. For my personal thing, just imagine, right? 21 years, army ke andar the, theek hai, bilkul alag tarika tha. Here, I go to my office, I go in jeans and t-shirts. I wear a sneaker and go. People want that comfort, but the work should be the one which should be coming in. The productivity should be the one which any startup founder or any matter of fact, anybody would like to have it.
Right. That being said, there is this one question that I had for all of you all. What is the, annual recurring revenue of your startup? Anybody who can tell me? What's the ARR of your company, basically? Your startup, the people who are from startups, do you have an idea of what your company is annually earning? You're HR professionals, you should be knowing that. It's confidential. But, they are all public entities. It's available on the internet itself. there are a lot of information which is available online as well, right? And being business partners especially, right? When you're talking about HR, human resource professionals are also business partners in a way, right? So when you're just thriving and not focusing on your people, rather, the revenue is not generated is what my point is essentially. So again, Tarun, to you, my first question would be, can a startup actually thrive without prioritizing on their immediate profits at least, but focusing on its people?
Oh yes, it can. Why not? See, as I said, revenue is one particular factor which will definitely come when we have the people, the right set of people over there, right? And the people who are there who are working for the organization. Now just imagine a disgruntled person working for a startup. Will he contribute that? Why? Will he get the same kind of a productivity wherein somebody who has been there with the startup from the initial days, or maybe, once it started it, and he or she is willing to, pick up the other things also. The next is, the employer branding also. That also matters a lot. So suppose if a startup is there and you find it there is a fire and, hire and fire thing which is going on. Would you like to join that startup? No. You would like to join somewhere wherein you also want that particular longevity. You also want, contribute over there. So I think definitely any founder, as a matter of fact, would love to have his or her own team and would love to continue with them. It's only that we have to keep them motivated, we have to keep them involved, and, we have, as we, focus on the people, the profits will definitely come in. Yes, profits are still important. Okay, there's a balance. Cool.
Right, I don't know how many of you all have read the book called Good to Great, right? Perfect. So there in that book, the author talks about, I'm not taking the name of the author because there's a quiz right after this, and I asked that question in it. So no leaking of answers here. So my question is that, when the author talks about bringing the right people on the bus and taking off the wrong people, right? So when he talks about it, there are also mentions of retention and bringing in new hires, right? So how far do you think retention helps in saving money and new hires, take up more of your investments? Or is it the other way around? Who supports that, profits are more generated by retention rather than bringing in new people? You think so? Perfect. And the others, I'm assuming you are supporting new hires.
Folks, I'm the only one over here, right? There were 4 speakers before. You guys are going to help me out here. Okay? आप भी बोलोगे सब, ठीक है?
Yeah, this is your chance to speak now.
Retention is important, but we have to give a learning as well. Retention is not only if we retain employees, but we are not giving that learnings according to the needs of the business. So if we have a retained employees, but they are not that developed, the organization will not get that revenue what they are expecting from them.
Correct. And when we're talking about retention, obviously...
Retention is the first point. It's the key point. It always, because being an HR, it is our core responsibility to retain employees as long as we can.
Right. Can you pass the mic? Perfect. Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. I've crossed 4 organizations. Among them 2 were startups, and now 2 are manufacturings. Total different cultures.
Right.
I've seen retention might help in the short term, but a retained employee nonetheless will leave you if you're not giving them better motivations.
Correct. Makes sense.
It's not money. It's not the money, because next moment they are going to get another deal and they're saying goodbye. Startups, yes. Manufacturing as well. It is, in the longer term, whenever we are retaining, as an HR, I've done this, that yeah, I'm retaining this talent, but I'm creating my backup. I am doing firefighting. It's a balance.
Understood. Yeah. Tarun, what's your thoughts on that?
See, retention, it's again, as you said, not only money, there's the organizational culture also which works on it. But retention, I'll say, for what reasons you are doing it. Is that particular person performing? Is he a culturally fit with us or not? In case not, then might as well, we can say, okay, fine, we'll help you out in another organization. That's one thing. But in case that person is doing well and he or she has some kind of, a challenge with the organization, some kind of, it can happen with any one of us, right? Any one of us, we can get disgruntled on one of the days and we say, I don't like the particular culture, I'm going to move out. Now that is where the HR comes in between. Okay, and if the employee is good, we require that particular person, why shouldn't we retain that person? And that retention, as you said, it can be through for any other reason. It is not only for the money one. Second is, suppose, if I hire from outside, won't my cost increase? Will I not get into, in touch with the consultants? Will I not get in touch with folks, to hire new folks? And the second is on the training of the new person who's going to come in. This particular person who's there, he or she is there with me for almost, and say about a year or so, 6 months or so, he or she understands the business. To start from a scratch for a new person, won't it be difficult? So I think, yes, retention is much better in case that particular person is aligned with the culture and the one who is getting productivity to us that way, right?
Right,
I answered it, right?
Yeah, I also think industry plays a part, right? When you're talking about profits or your people, the industry you're in, the size of your company, all of that matters when you're weighing in whether your profits are more important or your people or your retention strategies for that matter, right? So what are the ways that you can actually check, Tarun? How do you prioritize both of them?
Okay. You mean to say, the check on why the person is want to stay with us or something?
No, I want to know whether, how does an industry or a company size play a role in prioritizing whether the people are more important or the profits?
Okay, fine. So see, there are many kind of checks and balances which you can do it, which you can find it out. Now there are surveys which you can do it. You can find out, how is the NPS score which is coming in. The previous forum did speak about that particular thing. The another thing is finding out what is the productivity which is coming. We did an analysis and we saw what was the productivity of a retained employee, what is the productivity of a new employee, and what is the productivity of somebody has been there with us for long years. We'll also found out a person who has been there with us for long years, maybe he or she has got disgruntled. Some of them. When we found out the productivity, we did speak to them. Okay, so one is, finding out with these particular surveys, carry out anonymous surveys, try and speak to them. The exit interviews, somebody in the last panel spoke about that. I just wanted to add on that thing. How you have to conduct the exit interviews? Please do not conduct an exit interview. That's what my, that's what my take is. The exit interviews is something which we started doing it centrally. Now imagine, koi field mein aapka hai and he moved out. And who's doing the exit interview? The exit interview is being done by the field HRBP, right? So he may be, a party to it why that particular person moved out. When you do an exit interview and do a religious exit interview, it can be an online one, it can be an offline one, you speak to that particular person, and then, of course, that assurance, etc., will be given. We made a central exit interview team, and believe you me, ladies and gentlemen, the kinds of insight which we got, we were not getting it. Imagine a field ka HRBP, usne likh diya ki bhai he went for personal reasons. Now you keep finding out what are the personal reasons. It happens on the ground, right? Fine, because the HRBP, maybe the manager was not happy with the performance of that person. The HRBP was, aligned with the manager because he has to work with him. He said ki okay, isko hum nikal dete hain. ठीक है, तो वो आ गया. But in case if I conduct it centrally, when I speak to that, give that particular confidence to that person that I am from the central team and everything will be taken care of, then it works. The next thing is, there are two ways of doing exit interviews. See, one is when that particular, I hope we have time. Yeah, sorry.
Yes, we do.
Fine. The one is, when that person is moving out. Now that exit interview you're doing it once you want that person to be retained. Okay, that is, being more proactive. You want that person, you want to speak to that person, why he or she is moving out, what are the challenges which are being faced, is there a particular issue with the manager, is there an issue with the salary or so and so forth. Another is, do that particular exit interview maybe after 1.5 months, after that person has moved out. Now what will happen, ab koi nikal gaya, after 1.5 months, he or she will join a new org, then he will open out more. Then they will tell you more. Okay, sir, ये वाली problem हुई थी, ये वाला कष्ट हुआ था. Getting my point? So then these are some of the factors where we can do it. As I said, anonymous surveys, measure the productivity, see what is the customer satisfaction, what we are having, understand how the business is growing. If the business is growing, that means our employees are also happy. They are also contributing to it. Fine? That way. Somebody, Nishat, made a very, a valid point on knowing the revenue of your company. understand. We are the HR business partners. We are those particular people who are enabling, who are enablers. And we have to work with our organization, to get into that particular profit. So we need to know how the revenue has moved. So please understand that. Don't, get into okay, but mera kaam ye hai, main itna karunga ya karungi, and that's why I just move it out. Fine?
Right, so with that in view of the time, as we had already surpassed the time limits of the previous panels, we'll be going ahead and closing the session for today. Thank you so much, Tarun, for joining us for the session today. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a wonderful audience. And we expect to see you in the next chapter of Delhi happening very soon. And yeah, thank you so much.